Welcome to the Dreamy Physicist. Tonight, we begin with a gentle breath, not just air, but memory, not just oxygen, but the hush of stars that once burned in the dark, just to make you possible. Let's begin. Breathe in, softly, like a tide returning home. Feel the air enter, curling into your lungs, as if it remembers how to find its place inside you. This is not just breathing. This is reunion. Each molecule that enters you has wandered, has waited, has belonged to 1,000 other lives before it became yours for this moment. That oxygen, it might have once stirred in a leaf on the branch of a tree outside an ancient temple. It might have been exhaled by a whale rising through sunlit water, or lingered in the breath of a child centuries ago, laughing near a fire beneath a sky full of stars that no longer exist. You are made of this legacy of atoms, this whispered history of chemistry that links you to volcanoes, to oceans, to comets with icy hearts. The carbon in your blood was born in the fiery belly of a dying star. Yeah. In a final, furious collapse, it forged the seeds of life, the very matter that now pulses in your chest, and the hydrogen in your water, in your tears, in the breath you just let go, is older still, older than stars, older than galaxies, older than time as we know it. It came from the beginning, beginning, from the Big Bang, when everything that would ever be was still just possibility, still just a wild, expanding fire. That hydrogen drifted through space for eons. It watched stars form and die. It waited to join with oxygen in clouds of vapor, in rivers, in rainfall, in the oceans that would cradle the first breath of life. And now it curls inside your body, quietly, faithfully, a witness to everything you are becoming. Even nitrogen, invisible, quiet, makes up most of the air you take in. Not to be burned, but to balance, to cool, to hold you steady. Like silence holds music, there is elegance in that. The chemistry of stillness. The way your body honors each part, even the ones that pass through, without a sound. Because breath is not just for you. You are in constant conversation with the world. You breathe out carbon dioxide, and a leaf just outside your window drinks it in and gives you oxygen in return. You are not separate. You are circulation, a moving part in a vast, living loop. The same air you take in tonight will leave you again and become part of something else. A bird, a flame, a snowflake forming on a mountaintop. This is chemistry as communion. You are never alone in your breathing. There is no new air, no new water, no new carbon. Only rearrangement, only shared stories, only time spinning atoms into different shapes, like a poet reshaping the same few words into new songs again and again. Even your exhale has purpose. It carries warmth. It carries the imprint of you. And something, somewhere, will use it. Right now, in the dark quiet of night, as you lie here, breathing slowly, your body is doing a sacred thing without needing to think. You are honoring the billions of years it took to create a system so elegant it could cradle fire and call it breath. The chemistry of this is precise, but it is also poetry. Oxygen binds to hemoglobin in your blood, traveling like a fairy to every cell that hungers for energy. And the cells, tiny, unseen cities, use it to burn fuel gently, to power thought and warmth and the fluttering beat of your steady, dreaming heart. And then, when their work is done, they release what they no longer need: carbon dioxide, a soft thank you, a finished verse, ready to leave your body and become something else. This constant exchange, this endless rhythm, is the quiet miracle that sustains you. You are a cathedral of borrowed atoms, carried by breath through time. The air around you is not just space, it is memory, it is movement, it is the quiet chorus of everything that has ever lived. Breathe in again. Notice how it feels. The way the chest expands, the lungs unfurl like sails, the mind softens as oxygen reaches the brain and says, "You are here, and you are here now." In a story that began long before you and will continue long after, each breath is a gentle signature, a pulse of your presence in the vast unfolding that leads us deeper into stranger places. Because breath doesn't only fuel muscles or warm the skin, it touches thought, it feeds the brain. And the brain, that vast forest of signals, begins to use this chemistry to imagine, to feel, to remember, to wonder. So, what happens when the quiet molecules of air meet the vivid landscapes of thought? What dances awake when oxygen finds its way into memory, into emotion, into the hidden rooms of your mind where longing and joy and sorrow live? What happens, dear dreamer, when the breath of stars begins to whisper through the brain of a thinking animal? What strange alchemy begins when breath touches the chemistry of the soul? That is where we go next. You are held by forces you do not feel directly, but ones that shape you completely. Your skin does not peel away from your bones because atoms are holding hands so tightly, so quietly, that your whole body believes in its own shape. This isn't glue, not stitching, not string. It's the pull between particles, subtle attractions, tiny agreements, whispers exchanged between electrons that say, "I'll stay near you if you'll stay near me." These are chemical bonds, and they are everywhere: in the water that wraps around your cells, in the breath you drew moments ago, in the strands of your DNA curled like sleeping vines. They are the reason molecules exist at all, why hydrogen and oxygen don't drift apart as strangers, why they choose instead to hold on and become water. You drink that story. You are made from that choice. Atoms, on their own, are incomplete, like syllables with no words to form. They long for balance, a fullness they can only reach by sharing, by giving or taking or pooling what they have. Electrons, especially, are the matchmakers. They orbit their atoms in quiet, invisible loops, a bit like planets, but more like clouds. soft, uncertain regions where possibilities live. And when atoms come close, these electron clouds reach for one another. Sometimes they share, sometimes they steal, sometimes they hover in a kind of mutual agreement, neither giving up everything nor keeping everything. This is chemistry. But it's also a metaphor, if you want it to be. Some atoms give easily. Sodium, for instance, it offers an electron, like a hand extended in faith. And chlorine accepts, gladly, hungrily. The bond they form is called ionic. One gives, one takes, and both are changed. It's the salt you sprinkle on your food, but it's also the story of how imbalance finds peace. Other atoms prefer to share. Carbon is one of them, elegant, adaptable. It forms covalent bonds, a mutual holding. Electrons are pooled between partners, not owned, but trusted. That's the bond that builds your body, that knits proteins, shapes hormones, wraps information into the double helix of your genes. There are also bonds that are weaker, fleeting, soft, like hydrogen bonds, not as strong, but essential. They hold water molecules together in droplets. They make ice float when it should sink. They stitch DNA strands together with just enough strength to keep the code safe, but not so much that it can't be unzipped and read when the time is right. These bonds don't scream. They don't crash or clang. They whisper. And yet, they decide how your muscles fold, how your enzymes twist, how the rain clings to a window pane. In your bloodstream, oxygen hitches a ride on hemoglobin, not forever, but just long enough, a temporary bond, a passing partnership. Then it's released where it's needed. Every second, countless tiny unions form and break inside you. Nothing is permanent, and yet everything endures because of these moments of connection. You might not feel it, but your entire sense of touch is rooted in the repulsion of electron clouds. Nothing ever truly collides. What you feel as pressure is resistance, fields interacting, pushing away even as they draw near. You're built on balance, held together by a grammar of atoms that rarely shouts but always speaks when it matters. In the kitchen, heat breaks bonds in sugar and starch, rearranging atoms into scent and flavor, a chemical love letter to memory and hunger. In the sky, sunlight slices bonds in atmospheric molecules, creating ozone, a fragile shield that filters light so your cells don't unravel. Even fire is nothing more than bonds breaking in rapid succession, freeing energy that was waiting all along. The universe is always making and unmaking, attaching and releasing, like breath, like tides, like thought. And you, in the middle of it all, are a story woven from millions of small decisions, invisible acts of connection. Sometimes a bond forms in an instant, a sudden nearness. Sometimes it takes time, slow circling, a negotiation. Some are stable for years, some last microseconds. but all are meaningful in their moment, even the weak ones. Van der Waals forces, tiny flickers of attraction between molecules that don't even touch, or enough to let a gecko walk up a glass wall. The world doesn't just exist. It holds itself together, quietly, constantly, gracefully, and you are part of that. You are not made of hard, separate things. You are made of joining, of compromise, of elegant, invisible treaties, signed in silence. Even the warmth in your chest right now is the echo of bonds breaking, glucose molecules, oxidized and transformed into movement, thought, and dreaming. So much happens beneath your awareness. So many delicate pacts being honored with each heartbeat. As you lie still, your body rearranges itself in tiny ways. New bonds form in the skin, in the brain, in the marrow. You are becoming, and when you touch someone, chemistry responds. Tiny molecules move. Electric charges adjust. There is more happening in a single fingertip than we could ever truly map. But the feeling of connection, of being close to something or someone, it echoes these same principles. To bond is to risk, to share, to become a little less alone, even if just for a moment. And isn't that what the universe has been doing since the beginning? Atoms joining, forming stars, then planets, then oceans, then cells, then thoughts that wonder about it all. You are part of that wondering, the quiet bond in motion. And if matter can hold itself together with nothing more than shared electrons and a desire for balance, what else might the universe be gently trying to keep together? You are not one thing. You are not even 1,000 things. You are a harmony of countless tiny voices, each one elemental, ancient, quietly singing its part in the long, slow song of your being. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus. These are not just names from a periodic table on a classroom wall. These are the building tones of your bones, your blood, your breath. They are the notes that play you. Oxygen moves in waves through your lungs, dissolves into your blood, and kisses your cells with energy. It is drawn from the air, not by magic, but by structure. Your alveoli, tiny sacs that unfold like morning flowers, offering a place for gas to exchange. You breathe in and give your cells a chance to burn their sugars cleanly. Oxygen doesn't scream. It just moves with grace, with purpose. It finds the iron in your blood and rests there until it's needed. Then it lets go. Carbon, soft and sturdy, is the backbone of nearly every molecule that makes you you. Your DNA curls around it. Your muscles stretch from it. Your thoughts are tethered to it. It is the frame, the architecture, the anchor for complexity. Carbon doesn't shout either, but it's a master of joining. It bonds four ways, like a dancer, extending each arm to a different partner without losing balance. Because of this, it builds branching structures, rings, chains, networks of possibility. You are woven from carbon's generosity. Then there is hydrogen, the smallest, the first, born just moments after the Big Bang. Hydrogen is starlight's child and your oldest ancestor. You are full of it. In every drop of water, in every strand of DNA, hydrogen holds the spaces between more massive elements. It whispers more than it speaks, but without it, nothing could move, nothing could live. Hydrogen gives structure to your proteins, holds your molecules in delicate poses. Even your thoughts, that soft murmur in your mind, rely on the chemistry it helps sustain. Then there is nitrogen, cool and quiet. It composes most of the air you breathe, though your lungs let it pass like a stranger. But in your body, nitrogen becomes vital. It weaves into amino acids, the letters of your flesh. It forms the bases of your genetic code, the rungs of the spiral ladder that spells your name in biology. Without nitrogen, there would be no instructions, no repair, no memory. It doesn't make noise, but it holds the blueprint of your becoming. Phosphorus, though less spoken of, burns bright in its quiet places. It is the spark inside your cells. Each time your muscles move, each thought you think, each heartbeat, each blink is paid for by a molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, whose energy comes from a bond between phosphorus atoms. Your cells are little economies, and phosphorus is their currency. Even in your DNA, phosphorus holds the strands together, a backbone, strong and flexible, enough to survive both damage and time. Then calcium, the builder. It rests in your bones, but it's not still. It flows in and out of your cells to trigger motion, to send messages. Your heartbeat, that's calcium, whispering in waves. Your muscle contraction, that's calcium, raising its hand and saying, now. It sculpts your skeleton, yes, but also keeps the rhythm of your inner world. These elements, and a dozen more, compose you. But you are not just a list of parts. You are their music, like a song written with letters. From deep time, your body plays itself in real time. Sulfur folds your proteins into their perfect shapes. Potassium balances your electrical signals. Magnesium keeps your enzymes awake. Trace elements, copper, zinc, selenium, work backstage, adjusting the lights, tuning the stage, preparing the way for everything else to run smoothly. Even the elements you rarely hear of, like molybdenum, like cobalt, have roles to play. Cobalt, for instance, lives inside vitamin B12, a single atom cradled in a ring of complex molecules. It helps your blood carry oxygen, helps your nerves fire their messages. Without it, your body forgets how to renew itself. So many parts in perfect coordination. So many whispers adding up to a voice. And you are not alone in this. The same elements that shape your skin shape the leaves of trees, the shells of clams, the bones of birds. The same phosphorus in your cells once lit the sky. In stars, long gone. The iron in your blood was forged in supernovas. Every part of you was once elsewhere, in stone, in sea, in stardust. You are a recycling of the cosmos, a chorus, where atoms sing again. You are old, and yet you are new. You are elemental, but alive. And all the while, these elements are in motion. Atoms being replaced, rebuilt, recycled within you. The calcium in your bones is not the same as it was 10 years ago. Your skin refreshes. Your gut reshapes. Even your thoughts are built from chemistry in motion. This doesn't mean you're unstable. It means you're a process, a song in motion, a shape that holds, because the melody continues. When you speak, when you cry, when you rest, your body continues to sing this elemental song. A breath in, a breath out. A dance of carbon and oxygen, a rhythm of hydrogen and nitrogen, a soft percussion of minerals in your blood. You do not need to know the periodic table to feel how deeply composed you are. Just place your hand on your chest. Feel the pulse, the warmth. That is chemistry translated into time. And in that warmth is the question that has carried scientists and dreamers alike for centuries. If we are made of ancient, universal parts, then how do these parts begin to speak to one another? How do molecules, once drifting alone, come in and become a whisper of life? Water moves through you without asking permission. It slips between your cells, coils inside your veins, nestles in your eyes, and hushes your breath with its quiet presence. You are mostly made of it, not metaphorically, but truthfully, by weight, by volume, by rhythm. It flows in your blood, pools in your tissues, saturates your cells, and yet you almost never feel it as separate from you, because water is the closest thing this world has to a soul that shifts. It takes on forms, slides between identities, dances from mist to droplet, to ice, to snowflake, to ocean swell, to tear. No other substance does this quite so elegantly. No other molecule shapes the world while hiding in plain sight. It begins, as all things do, with structure. Single water molecule, two hydrogen atoms, and one oxygen. Oh, but the wonder isn't in its simplicity. It's in the angles, the shape. Oxygen pulls electrons more strongly than hydrogen. So the molecule forms like a tiny triangle with a slight electric imbalance. That imbalance, that quiet asymmetry, is everything. Because of it, each water molecule acts like a little magnet, one end slightly positive, the other slightly negative. And just like magnets, they cling to one another. This is why water beads up, climbs thin straws, hangs onto leaves, and whispers against your skin. They form fleeting bridges called hydrogen bonds, holding together, falling apart, joining again. A single glass of water contains trillions of these silent handshakes every second. It's a dance, not a stillness, a murmuring crowd of connections in constant rearrangement. And that simple polarity, that tiny imbalance, is what lets water do things that nothing else can. It dissolves salts and sugars, acids and bases, gases and proteins. Is the great solvent, not by force, but by welcome, like a host that opens its arms and says, "Come sit beside me. Bring what you carry. We will hold it together for a while." Your blood relies on this. So does your saliva, your sweat, the fluid between your joints. Without water's willingness to hold opposites, you could not survive. But water's generosity goes deeper still. It regulates heat better than almost anything. It resists quick changes in temperature, which is why oceans stay mild even as the sun blazes, and why your body can hold warmth through a long, cold night. Water keeps your core from swinging wildly. It is a buffer, a patient keeper of thermal rhythm. Even your brain, that luminous conductor, floats in a bath of water, protected, cushioned, hydrated. It's not just metaphor to say thoughts swim. They do. Neurons fire and ions flow because water allows it. It carries charge like a gentle messenger, moving calcium, potassium, sodium across delicate membranes. Your moods, your memories, your sense of time, these arise, in part, from water's steady flow. But water is not only the keeper of what is within, it is the shaper of everything around you. It carved canyons, smoothed stone, built clouds, wore down mountains with nothing but persistence. It feeds the roots of trees, drifts across continents, rises into the air, and returns again as rain. It connects the sky to the soil, the ocean to the seed. When you drink, you're drinking the same molecules that once fell on ferns in ancient forests, the same droplets that might have clung to the feathers of birds now extinct. Water doesn't disappear. It cycles, evaporates, condenses, flows, freezes, melts. It carries memory, not in words, but in movement. And inside you, it does the same. Every cell in your body is filled with water, but not just filled, shaped by it. Proteins fold only because water surrounds them. Like a sculptor's hands, DNA twists into its double helix because of how it dances with water. Enzymes unlock energy only when water is there to break and build bonds. Water is not just present, it is participating. Every moment, your body is in dialogue with it. You sweat to cool, you weep to release, you sip to think. Water holds your rhythms in ways no clock can. And yet, despite all this, it asks for nothing. No praise, no spotlight. It simply moves, quiet, persistent, faithful. You lose it every breath, every step, every hour, and still it returns. You are never separate from it for long. Even when you sleep, it hums in your bloodstream, nudging nutrients to where they're needed, clearing waste, cooling the engine of your dreams. This is the shape-shifting soul, the silent partner, the one who holds and releases without fear. And perhaps that's why so many ancient stories begin with water. In the beginning, there was the deep, the waters above and the waters below, the first womb, the original mirror. Because even before there were words, there was this sense that life arises where water flows. Even the search for life beyond Earth begins with the question, was there water? Is there still? Mars, Europa, Enceladus, these worlds beckon us, not with fire, but with frost and fluid. Because where there is water, there might be chemistry. Where there is chemistry, there might be motion. Where there is motion, there might be life. And so this molecule, so tiny, so plain, becomes the thing we listen for in the silence of the stars. Back here, on Earth, in your body, in this moment, you carry oceans within. Every heartbeat is a tide. Every sigh, a ripple. Every cell, a drop in conversation with the rest. And yet, even knowing all this, even feeling it now, as you lie still, as water flows inside you, one question rises softly. How did this water, these molecules, this motion, begin to form? The first patterns of life? What was the first step from chemistry into the choreography of the living? You rest now, quiet in your limbs, yet deep within you, a restless artist is still at work. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't slow. It builds and breaks, weaves and rearranges. And its favorite tool, its most trusted shapeshifter, is carbon. Carbon is not flashy. It isn't rare. You walk past it daily, as charcoal, as soot, as graphite, in a pencil's heart. And yet, this simple atom is the scaffold of everything living. A builder with infinite blueprints, a dancer with 1,000 steps. Why? Because carbon is the master of connections. At its core, carbon has 4 arms, 4 bonds. It can extend in any direction. That number, not too few, not too many, makes it a perfect node in the web of life. It can link with other carbons in long chains, loops, branches, ladders, cages. It can bond with hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus. It is the backbone of molecules that bend, pull, breathe, and still it remains light, nimble, flexible. Carbon can wear many masks. It can be rigid like diamond, where each atom locks arms with 4 neighbors, forming a crystal harder than any blade, or soft like graphite, where flat layers slide past one another like shuffled cards. It can be charcoal, smoke, but in the body, in the cell, it is none of these. There is a wire for energy, a skeleton for shape, a hinge for movement. Take sugar, for instance. Its carbon backbone carries energy harvested from the sun, a slow burn gift passed cell to cell. Or proteins, the workers of the body. They are long strings of carbon-centered structures, folded precisely into shapes that grasp, cut, build, defend. And then DNA, the spiral staircase of inheritance. Its rungs, its rails, are all crafted from carbon's careful touch. Even hormones, your feelings, your shifts, your cycles, are written in carbon's language. Carbon, despite its quietness, is intimate with you. It writes the chemistry of emotion and thought. Each time you breathe out, you release a piece of it, a molecule of carbon dioxide carried on your side. This carbon once belonged to the food you ate, which came from plants, which pulled it from the air, and so it circles out in again. Carbon doesn't vanish. It moves across bodies, across centuries. The same carbon that now sits in your fingertips might once have drifted in a cloud above the Nile, might have grown a fern leaf beneath a dinosaur's foot, might have sparked the first flicker of metabolism in a pool on the early Earth. For carbon's magic is not in the atom itself, but in what it enables. It doesn't command. It permits. It lets others link. It offers structure without stiffness, complexity without chaos. And that, perhaps, is the secret of life. Not the ability to be complicated, but the ability to be flexible. Carbon understands flexibility. It allows molecules to respond, to change shape, to carry messages, to repair themselves. In biology, this is everything. A rigid system dies. Irresponsive one adapts. And carbon, patient, obedient, imaginative, builds the machinery of adaptability. Its creations are everywhere. In enzymes that snip DNA with surgical calm, in pigments that catch sunlight and turn it into fuel, in neurotransmitters that leap synapses and whisper, "I'm afraid," or "I'm safe." Even in scent, yes, even there, carbon builds the keys that fit our noses. The smell of a rose, of smoke, of rain-wet earth. Each is a shape, a vibration, a carbon arrangement, dancing on the wind. You, as you lie here, are made of it. More than anything else, your skin, your muscles, your voice, your thoughts. Carbon carries them all. You are a carbon-based being in a carbon-based world. But how did it begin? How did Earth become a place so rich in this atom of potential? We look to the stars. In the hearts of aging suns, carbon is born, not in fire, but in fusion. Helium atoms, pressed close under impossible heat, merge, and from their union comes carbon. When those stars die, when they swell, collapse, explode, they scatter this carbon like ash across galaxies. And some of that ash becomes part of dust, of rock, of planets. Some of it falls into oceans. And some, a small fraction, finds the right conditions, the right partners, the right stillness and spark to begin forming the first chains, the first cycles, the first delicate webs of organic life. No plan, no blueprint, just possibility rising like mist from carbon's open arms, and perhaps in one of those early molecules. Simple but persistent, there was a loop that fed itself, took in energy, rearranged, divided, and in that loop, life began, not as something separate from carbon, but as carbon in motion. Now, billions of years later, here you are, still made of loops, still made of carbon, still writing your story in its language, a language of masks, of forms, of silent resilience. And maybe that's what you feel in those rare moments when you're very still, a deep, quiet sense that you're not merely alive, but composed, that beneath the surface of thought, beneath the distractions of the day, you are art, formed from pattern sculpted by this humble atom that never demands the lead, but always holds the form. Carbon, wearing every mess, so you might wear yours. Skin, memory, laughter, grief. But if carbon is the frame, the scaffolding, then what animates it? What steps in to push the loops into motion? What breathes not into lungs, but into the chemistry itself? What flickers between the atoms and says, move, rearrange, try again? You lie still, as if floating, suspended gently in the hush between two thoughts. And here, in this moment, where your breath is soft and your body remembers how to rest, the world becomes not loud, but elemental. Everything around you, everything within you, whispers in the quiet language of the elements, not the wild rush of weather or waves, but the soft pulses of particles, the steady exchange of atoms, the simple conversation of salt and flame. We begin with salt, a pinch between fingers, a scatter on your tongue, common, ordinary, yet old as stars. Sodium, restless and eager, sits in salt beside chloride, its cool and cautious partner. Together, they form a crystal, orderly, stable, geometrically patient. But in your body, they do not sit still. They dissolve, drift, flow. Your nerves depend on them. Sodium rushing in, potassium rushing out. A wave of charged possibility that becomes a thought, a movement, a memory, the flutter of your eyelid, the slow rhythm of your lungs, the warmth that rises in the presence of someone you love. Salt moves that. It may seem odd to think of sodium as emotional, but your feelings ride on ion tides. They surge in quiet cascades through brain and muscle, a choreography made not of poetry, but of charge and response. And flame, flame is another story altogether. Flame is transformation. Where salt holds structure, flame dissolves it. Where salt is memory, flame is change. A match flares, and suddenly, carbon dances. Oxygen joins, fast and hungry. In combustion, the bonds break. The molecules shift. Energy, long hidden in chemical bonds, is released as light, as heat, as motion. We've known fire as long as we've known fear. It warmed our shelters, cooked our food, scared off the dark. But in its light, we saw something deeper, that matter could change its arrangement and speak in color. Different elements burn different hues. Copper glows green. Strontium burns red. Sodium flickers yellow. Potassium reveals violet. It's as if each element has its own signature, its own flame, song, a brief display of identity before becoming something else. The ancients noticed this too. They watched minerals thrown into fire, shimmer and shift, not knowing they were witnessing electrons dancing, tiny sparks, jumping between levels, releasing light as they return. In that dance, in that firelight, we find a truth. Elements are not silent. They shimmer with intention. They respond to energy by singing, and their songs, though short, are precise, repeatable, honest. Each element has its tone, its color, its resonance. Even now, we use these songs to understand the stars. When we gaze at distant suns, we read their light through the prism of flame. Each element leaves a fingerprint in the spectrum, a pattern of bright lines and dark gaps. Hydrogen hums softly. Helium giggles in gold. Iron thunders. Calcium whispers blue. From these signatures, we learn not only what stars are made of, but how they live and how they die. Salt and flame. These two seem simple, and yet they are gateways to understanding everything. Salt teaches structure, communication, the balance between push and pull. Flame teaches change, excitement, the price of energy, and the beauty of release. Together, they hint at a deeper idea that the universe is not still. It responds. It listens. It rearranges itself when given the right nudge. Your body is made of salt. Yes, not only in your tears and your sweat, but in the electric quiet between your cells. And you're born of flame, too. Not just the fire that cooks or warms, but the starlight that once forged your calcium, your phosphorus, your iron. Every element in you was once part of a burning sky. The iron in your blood was formed in the collapse of a supernova. The calcium in your teeth spun out of a star's final breath. Salt and flame, they are not opposites. They are different ways matter can speak. One speaks in stillness, in balance, in signal. The other in burst, in flare, in song. But both are part of life. The neuron, which carries a thought, is guided by salt. The mitochondrion, which burns fuel for energy, is a keeper of ancient flame. Even in the kitchen, you can see their poetry. A pan heats up, flame licks the metal. Water hisses, steam curls. Salt seasons the dish, drawing out flavor, binding moisture, aligning the taste. You taste the balance of elements. You feel the heat of transformation. And what is feeling, if not chemistry, given breath? What is memory, if not a trace of ions in a network made of carbon and salt and motion? You are not made from one thing. You are an orchestra of elements, each with its tone, its tempo, its temperament. And the conductor, if there is one, is not separate from the music. It is within it. It is you. You are salt and you are flame. You are the steady hum of things continuing just as they are. And you are the flicker of change, of growth, of burning curiosity. You hold both, the silence that allows signal, the fire that welcomes form. Tonight, as you lie between them, as you drift between stability and transformation, let yourself wonder, what else do the elements know? What stories does the oxygen in your breath still carry? What memories does your phosphorus recall from the oceans of early Earth? And if elements can shimmer with identity, can burn with a signature, then what of the molecules they build? What of the long chains that twist and fold, that hold shape, that begin to make meaning? What happens when atoms become architecture? You stir quietly beneath the covers, not asleep, not fully awake, just drifting on the soft current of thought and breath. And tonight, we step deeper into the laboratory that is you, not the metaphorical heart or the poetic soul, but the real and radiant beaker of your body. Yes, your body is a beaker, a living vessel of reactions, a container of careful balances, a humming chamber where elements mix, bond, separate, and try again. It doesn't fizz, at least not visibly, but it simmers, it pulses, it steams, it burns low, like an ancient fire hiding beneath still coals. Every cell in you is a little lab, sealed tight, yet open to the world, wrapped in a membrane, like a glass rim holding the experiment in. Inside, reactions bloom with exquisite precision. One molecule shifts a shape, and suddenly you feel hunger. A protein bends its folded arms, and your eyes adjust to moonlight. Glucose arrives, carried by the bloodstream, like sugar dissolved in gentle tea, and the cells wake up. Energy, invisible and real, moves from bond to bond, never lost, only transformed. In school, they might have told you chemical reactions need flasks and flame, goggles and gloves. But they didn't tell you about your liver quietly rearranging atoms as you sleep, or your kidneys, those thoughtful chemists, filtering the blood with patience and precision, measuring ion by ion, molecule by molecule. They didn't mention your lungs, delivering oxygen, not just to breathe, but to catch the spent remains of carbon chains and send them back into the air. You are not just breathing, you are exhaling the story of carbon's journey through you. Single breath carries hundreds of invisible decisions, tiny verdicts on whether energy was stored, burned, or built into something new. There's a quiet elegance in that. A beaker must balance. Too much heat and it breaks. Too little and nothing changes. So too with you. Homeostasis, the body's art of staying just right, a steady temperature, a careful pH, electrolytes held in perfect ratios, hormones rising and falling like the tides of a silent sea. Your blood, just a little salty, flows like a river through this chemistry, a buffer, a messenger, a liquid record of the lab's latest trials. And the brain, oh, the brain, a researcher and reactor, an observer and participant. It is not separate from the experiment. It is in it, of it, because of it. Neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, float across synapses like drops of reagent falling into place. With each drop, you shift, you remember, you laugh, you dream, you ache. Not because the chemicals are cold and clinical, but because they are language, encoded intention, molecular feeling. So your sadness has a formula, your joy has a half-life, your memory has a structure built from folded proteins, electrical pulses, and ions, moving like whispers from neuron to neuron. Your body is not simply a passive container. It is the beaker, yes, but also the alchemist. It chooses, it adapts, it fails, it learns, it tries again. In your stomach, acid churns, strong enough to break protein chains, gentle enough not to burn you through. The balancing act between destruction and digestion. And yet, this same acid makes way for life. Without it, vitamin B12 would not bind, iron would not absorb, and you would fade. So destruction can be sacred, and synthesis can be soft. Your cells build as much as they break. A single enzyme can stitch together thousands of new molecules, long chains of carbon, ring structures, folded just so, tiny messengers, and scaffolds that hold you upright and conscious. You are always in the middle of becoming. Every second, you shed skin, you grow new red cells, you repair a scrape, you forget a word, you learn a new sound. Reactions everywhere, not random, but orchestrated. Your DNA, that long double helix, coiled in the nucleus, is more than a blueprint. It is a recipe, a memory, a spell. From it, your cells read instructions, carefully copying, folding, modifying. Sometimes they make mistakes, a letter swapped, a P skipped, and sometimes those mistakes change everything. But often, most often, they are caught, repaired, undone. Your body wants to stay itself, not static, but steady. It is loyal to its shape, to its process. And in that loyalty, there is wisdom. There is a wisdom in the liver's silence, in the pancreas's timing, in the spleen's quiet sorting, in the muscle's response to calcium's knock. This isn't lifeless chemistry. This is chemistry with a purpose. Chemistry in conversation. The hydrogen ions shift the pH of your tears. The adrenaline prepares your heart for movement. The oxytocin softens your fear when a hand touches yours. And even your pain, even that is a signal in the chemical chain. To be felt, to be honored, to be understood. as part of the reaction. Tonight, as you rest, you return to equilibrium. The cortisol falls, the heart slows, the temperature dips just slightly. You cool, you settle, the solution clears. And so, in your sleep, the experiment continues. 1,000 quiet beakers, bubbling gently in the dark. And you are the dream of carbon and calcium, of water and salt, of oxygen and nitrogen, woven into one, responsive, mysterious, and ongoing reaction. You are not separate from chemistry. You are chemistry dreaming of itself. And as this thought floats quietly in you, like a dye spreading in water, another one rises. If molecules can carry memory and reactions can shape thought, then what happens? When chemistry begins to recognize itself, what happens? When the beaker starts to ask why? There's something ancient flowing through you, not just cells or thoughts, but elements older than bones, older than trees, older than the earth itself. Tonight, you lie still, a quiet current beneath soft blankets, and within you, a river runs red. But this isn't just blood, it's memory, it's stardust, it's metal, suspended in the tide of your life. There are metals in your blood, and they are not passive. They do not simply rest. They move, they work, they carry, transform, defend, and glow. Let us begin with iron. The red of your blood is the mark of its presence. Every breath you take depends on it. Iron sits at the heart of hemoglobin, a small, sturdy throne where oxygen can rest for a moment, just long enough to ride from your lungs to your fingertips. Without iron, air would enter, but never arrive. The iron atom, tiny as it is, has just the right shape, just the right charge to grip an oxygen molecule like a hand holding a lantern. And when it reaches a place in need, it lets go gently, precisely, so that breath becomes life. This metal doesn't gleam like gold. It rusts. It stains. It is humble and essential. In a single drop of blood, millions of hemoglobin molecules hold tight to their iron cores, like tiny rafts on a silent, crimson sea. But iron isn't alone. There is zinc quietly working in the shadows. Zinc is not red nor loud, but without it, wounds wouldn't heal. Your taste would fade. Your immune army would forget how to march. Zinc helps enzymes fold into perfect shapes. It guides proteins to their destinations. It whispers into the ears of DNA, telling genes when to speak and when to stay silent. It is the subtle hand behind the curtain, unseen, but always there. Then comes copper, a rare guest, but no less crucial. Copper conducts not just electricity, but life itself. It sits in the enzymes that give cells the power to breathe. It guards nerves, coating them in protective wraps so signals don't scatter. It even helps iron find its place, guiding it like a seasoned mentor into the bloodstream's flow. And yet, too much copper can tip the balance. Too little, and the body forgets how to mend. Balance is everything. Each metal must be not too much, not too little. In the beaker of your body, this is the fine art, to hold metals close, yet not let them roam too free. Too much iron can scorch, too much zinc can silence, too much copper can corrode. So the body binds them, locks them into proteins, shields them in cells, stores them in liver vaults, ready to be released in moments of need. There are trace metals too, faint whispers in the bloodstream. Cobalt, sitting inside vitamin B12, quietly helps you make red cells. Manganese, a subtle sculptor, helps build bone and metabolize nutrients. Molybdenum, a name like a spell, assists enzymes that clean house in your cells. Each one has its place, its moment. Together, they form a hidden orchestra. Not strings, not brass, but metals playing harmony within your tissues. Each note, a spark, a twist, a turn. You don't feel them, but you are them. You inherited these metals, not just from food or air, but from stars. In ancient supernovae, iron was forged in the final breath of dying suns. Zinc, copper, cobalt, all born in the crushing cores of cosmic collapse. These elements were scattered across space, riding stardust into planets, into oceans, into single-celled life, into you. You are walking metal, softened by water, wrapped in carbon, animated by electricity. You are a constellation, condensed into blood and breath, and in your blood, the stars still whisper. There is poetry in knowing that the oxygen your iron carries was once part of ancient trees or long forgotten waves. There is wonder in the idea that the same copper flowing through your veins may have passed through trilobites or ammonites millions of years ago. Metals endure. They do not die. They cycle. They return. When your body breaks down, as all bodies must, the metals will scatter again into soil, into streams, into wind. And someday, a new life will gather them, draw them in from earth and sky, and begin again. So when you feel tired, drained, empty, remember, you are the bearer of metallic memory. Your tiredness may be chemistry asking for balance. Your strength may be a spark flickering between iron and oxygen. You are not weak. You are precise. Your blood is not just red. It is red because it remembers the stars. And that red carries stories your mind may never hear, of balance, of breath, of time. Now, as you lie still, the iron wheels turn, the copper circuits pulse, the zinc fingers continue their quiet work. Inside you, the ancient forge burns on. But in the stillness of this moment, as chemistry softens into quiet, a question begins to rise, not from the metals, but from the mind. If elements can carry life and metals can carry memory, What happens when the elements begin to ask about themselves? What happens when matter starts to wonder? You breathe in, slowly, softly. The air carries more than oxygen tonight. It carries memory. It carries flavor. It carries something you cannot quite name, but your body knows it intimately. There's toast somewhere in the kitchen. Cinnamon, maybe, or the faint edge of citrus on a passing breeze. You don't see it. You don't touch it, but it touches you. That is the magic of taste and smell. A quiet kind of alchemy where invisible molecules become sensations and sensations become stories your body tells itself in the dark. When you were a baby, before you had words, you knew the world through these two gates, the tongue and the nose. You tasted your mother's milk before you ever saw her face. You smelled the skin that held you close before you learned her name. Now, as you lie here, the alchemy continues. Let's start with the nose. To smell, you don't need much, just a few drifting molecules in the air. They're light, far lighter than dust, floating and twisting, seeking entry into the winding cave of your nostrils. Inside, a narrow strip of tissue, the olfactory epithelium, waits like a sentinel. It's only about the size of a postage stamp, but on it, millions of neurons stand ready. Each one carries a unique kind of keyhole or receptor that waits for just the right shape of scent molecule to slip in. When it fits just right, an electrical signal fires, shooting into the olfactory bulb just behind your eyes. From there, your brain makes magic. Vanilla, pine, ocean air, rain on asphalt. But it's not just magic, it's chemistry. Every smell is a pattern of molecules dancing through the air. Your receptors are shaped to catch them, like a lock that only turns for certain keys. Your brain weaves them together, some familiar, some strange, into memories, warnings, cravings, or comfort. And what of taste? You might think taste lives only on your tongue, but truly, it is a duet between mouth and nose. Your tongue knows only 5 flavors: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. That rich, savory sense you feel in broth or grilled mushrooms. But the nuance? The notes of rosemary in a stew, the caramel in a coffee, the lemon tucked in tea, these belong to smell. As you chew, tiny scent molecules are released from your food. They travel not through your nostrils, but upward through the back of your throat into the same olfactory space. This is called retronasal smell. It's why food tastes dull when your nose is blocked. Without smell, taste loses its color. Still, the tongue plays its role. The bumps you see, called papillae, each hold dozens of taste buds, and each taste bud holds 50 to 150 receptor cells, tiny chemical translators that send signals to your brain through a quiet electrical code. Salt? That's sodium ions slipping directly into your cells. Sour? That's protons from acids, like lemon juice, tingling the tongue. Sweet, bitter, umami, those are more complex. They use G protein coupled receptors, little molecular machines that trigger a cascade of messages inside the cell. You don't need to understand all the wiring. You just need to feel what it does. A bite of chocolate can slow your heart. A taste of mint can make you feel cooler, even in heat. Spoonful of soup can bring back a winter from childhood. This is chemistry as emotion. This is biology as memory. Because the parts of your brain that process smell and taste are deeply entwined with the limbic system, the seat of memory, mood, and instinct. That's why a certain scent can break your heart or mend it. That's why comfort food feels like home. Your body remembers what your words may forget. And these senses, they're not just for pleasure, they're tools for survival. Bitter taste warns of poison. Sourness signals spoil. Saltiness points to electrolytes your body needs. Even the craving for sweetness, once a rare signal of ripe fruit, was your ancestors' guide to energy. But in the modern world, where sweetness is everywhere, those ancient pathways can lead astray. Taste remains, but the environment has changed. Still, the chemistry holds. The molecules don't lie. And there's beauty in knowing that you are a sensitive instrument, detecting subtle shifts in flavor and fragrance, an organic spectrometer wrapped in skin. When you drink tea, your receptors read the volatile oils like a poem. When you walk past jasmine, your neurons sing a song of bloom. Even fear has a scent. Stress releases chemicals into your sweat that others can detect, even if they don't know why. They feel tense when standing beside you. Love, too, has its aroma. Pheromones still whisper beneath our higher minds. There's a wildness in your biology, a trace of the forest and the fire still humming in your skin. So much happens before you speak, before you think. You smell your world. You taste your moments. Even now, as you lie here, perhaps the air has shifted. Perhaps the pillow still holds a trace of yesterday's shampoo, or the room carries a thread of lavender from the candle you forgot. Whatever it is, you are not passive. You are always sensing, always decoding. Even in sleep, your nose remains alert, ready to stir you if smoke or danger arrives. And so, taste and smell are not small things. They are not extras. They are the storybook your body reads to know the world. They are how you remember without remembering, how you choose without knowing why, how you survive, connect, belong. In every bite, a reaction. In every breath, an interpretation. You are the chemist and the subject, the mouth and the meaning. And yet, even this quiet alchemy of food and fragrance is just one piece of a larger mystery. Because beyond the chemistry of molecules and membranes, another kind of transformation waits in your brain. Not flavor, not scent, but thought itself. What is this thing that arises from neurons firing? What is consciousness that it can savor wine and feel sorrow from a whiff of smoke? What is the chemistry of awareness? And how does matter learn to wonder? You lie still, and outside the world is shifting, quietly, inwardly, inevitably. You can't hear it, but the air is at work. It touches everything: leaf, bone, stone, skin, and whispers softly, "This too shall change." That is the promise of rust, of rot, of endings that are not failures, but transformations. You've been taught to fear decay, but what if you didn't? What if you saw in the crumbling edge of things a deeper rhythm, the chemistry of letting go? Let's begin with iron, a strong metal, steady, resilient. We build our bridges with it, our rails, our blood. But when iron meets air, meets water, meets time, it changes. A reddish brown bloom appears. Not a flower, but a flake. Not growth, but dissolution. Rust. Its name is soft, but its process is fierce. Here's how it happens. Iron atoms, tightly packed, begin to lose their electrons. Little sparks of identity set loose by the presence of oxygen and water. The metal corrodes, a slow surrender to the air it lives in. And then it bonds with oxygen, forms iron oxide. Feel? No. A powder, a crust, a bruise on a once smooth surface. But rust isn't ruin, it's transition. It says, this metal no longer resists. It becomes part of the earth again. And in that soft crumble, a cycle completes. Now shift from iron to life, from rust to rot. Picture a fallen apple, red skin, wrinkled, flesh sweetening, then softening, then sagging. It doesn't die in one moment. It transforms. Tiny organisms arrive, invited without invitation. Bacteria, fungi, microscopic scavengers with patient appetites. They release enzymes, tiny molecular knives that slice open long chains of sugar, protein, fat. The apple dissolves into a warm wetness that feeds the soil. That's not failure. That's generosity. That's matter returning to the communal pot of creation. Rot is a thank you note to the earth. You, too, are built from materials that will one day return. Your body is a beaker, yes, but also alone. Carbon, iron, phosphorus, water, they come to you from stars, from stones, from soil, and they will leave when your story ends. Even now, you are in slow exchange. Your skin flakes, your cells recycle, your breath carries invisible atoms out into the world. With every exhale, you rot very slowly as a living thing, and one day, faster. But that's not a horror. That's a gift. Decomposition is the last kindness your body performs. To feed, to nourish, to surrender. Fungi are the artists of this farewell. White threads, called hyphae, reach out into decay like delicate fingers. They release enzymes into bark, into bone, into flesh, and draw nourishment Back in mycelium, a vast underground network learns the shape of death and uses it to nurture life. Without rot, a forest would choke on its own beauty. Without rust, there'd be no color in the antique. Without endings, there'd be no space for beginnings. Even in your kitchen, you witness decay. Bread molds, milk sours, bananas brown. What's happening is oxidation, fermentation, microbial bloom, life breaking into life. Even fermentation, which we celebrate in wine, in cheese, in yogurt, is rot, refined. Bacteria and yeast devour sugars and release new flavors, sour, pungent, alive. We toast to these transformations without calling them decay, but they are, and they're delicious. Rust and rot are not always gentle, of course. Sometimes they ruin. A bridge fails, a crop spoils, a wound festers. But even then, at the microscopic level, it's still chemistry, still balance, seeking itself. There are organisms designed only to break down plastics, bacteria that feast on oil spills, enzymes that eat polyester threads. Even our worst inventions may one day have a recycler written in DNA. Endings adjust to the world we build. Nature is patient. She finds a way to unmake what we make. And you live inside this rhythm. Your body oxidizes from the moment you are born. Your cells produce free radicals, tiny rogue particles that nibble at your molecules over time. Antioxidants help. They slow the process, but the river flows in one direction. This is not a tragedy. This is chemistry, entropy. The universe's quiet insistence on disorder is not cruelty. It's invitation to participate, to let go, to be temporary but meaningful. Even love changes. Friendships fade. Memories blur. Not because they weren't real, but because the brain, too, is a dynamic system. Neurons fire, reconnect, forget, reshape. You are always rusting, always rotting, always renewing. And just as iron becomes dust and apples become earth, so too do moments become memory. So too does life fold into something larger than itself. If you could zoom out far enough, you'd see it. Planet coated in rusted rocks, living things rotting into soil, bodies broken down to feed roots and rivers, metals cycling through blood and back into stone. Not death, not destruction, just redistribution. One long breath of matter, in and out. One long chain of transformations. And somewhere in that chain, right now, you lie here, alive, listening. A brief pattern of atoms before they scatter again. And in that scattering, a kind of peace. You don't need to last forever. You just need to become what comes next. And so rust and rot are not ends. They are openings. They are how the universe writes its next chapter. World. Composting itself into beauty. A memory breaking down into wisdom. A breath fading into wind. And perhaps just beyond that wind. There's a new chemistry, not of endings, but of awareness. What happens when this breaking down creates something that can look back? What is the moment where matter first notices that it exists? Light touches you long before you notice it. It arrives not with sound, not with scent, but with presence, a quiet shimmer across the skin, a shift in the mood of the room, a suggestion that something has awakened. It doesn't shout, it reveals. And tonight, as you lie still and soft, let's follow that light, not where it shines, but where it lands. Because every color you see, every glint, every glow is born not in the light itself, but in what chooses to absorb it and what lets it go. You may think of light as a single thing, a sunbeam, a bulb, a laser. But light is a symphony, a wave, a particle, a rhythm stretched across time. It comes in many wavelengths, each a different note in nature's invisible scale. Some are too slow for us, infrared, felt as warmth. Some too fast, ultraviolet, felt as burn. But nestled in between, a narrow sliver, visible light, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. These are the notes your eyes can hear. But even here, light is not color. Light carries potential. Color happens when matter replies. Imagine a red apple. It glows in sunlight, not because it makes red, but because it rejects all else. The apple's skin absorbs every wavelength but red. It holds on to the blues, the greens, the violets, but reflects the red back to you. That's color. It's what remains after a thing decides what not to keep. A blue sky? That's air scattering short wavelengths, letting blue go free, while longer waves pass through. A white shirt? It reflects everything. A black one? It keeps nearly all. Color is memory reflected. Light is a question, and matter answers it in color. Your body does this too. Melanin in your skin absorbs much of the ultraviolet, a molecular sunscreen woven into your cells. Your eyes use opsons, tiny protein filters that respond to specific wavelengths. When light enters, they bend, shift, send signals. And from that chemical ballet, you construct a picture of the world. The green of a leaf, the amber of a candle, the gray of twilight, all born from how your matter meets the sun's. But it goes deeper. Chlorophyll, the pigment of plants, absorbs red and blue light and reflects green. It captures light's energy and turns it into sugar. This is photosynthesis, a plant eating light. It's the basis of all food, the root of all breath, the reason you are alive. Every bite you take is once absorbed sunlight. Every step you walk is old starlight, made solid in your muscles. Light feeds us when we aren't looking. It travels millions of kilometers just to be caught by a single leaf or a single eye. And even when it's gone, its memory stays. Fossil fuels, compressed sunlight, wood fires, stored rays from summers past. Even your thoughts tonight burn light, transformed into electricity. Not all absorption is physical. Art absorbs light in pigments and paints, then reflects it as emotion. A golden field in Van Gogh's hand, a pale sky in Monet's. Your brain sees the color, but your heart feels the story. Some colors stir us: a crimson robe, silver moon, a child's yellow raincoat in a gray world. These are choices of reflection: what to share, what to hold. Even in memory, some moments feel bluer, others burn golden. Your mind is a painter too, selecting, absorbing, reflecting. And then there's the mirror. What is a reflection, really? Smooth surface, glass, or still water refuses to absorb. It returns the light, nearly unchanged, and in that bounce, an image forms. Your face, your gesture, the flicker of your eyes. Not you, just your light. But the mirror doesn't lie. It just reflects. And so do you. You reflect feelings. You reflect language. You reflect love. You take in the world and let it pass through you in your own wavelength. That, too, is chemistry. That, too, is science. There is a molecule called rhodopsin in the rods of your retina. It absorbs the tiniest glow. It lets you see in near darkness. When light hits it, it changes shape, literally bends its atomic structure. That shift triggers a cascade, a rush of ions, a flood of signals, and suddenly, you see, just one photon can make it happen. One tiny packet of light can be enough to say, I'm here. This is the chemistry of sensitivity, to feel the world, not through touch or taste, but through photons, messengers from distant fires. And sometimes light deceives. A straw in water bends. Not really, but light slows as it moves from air to liquid. This is refraction, a change in speed, not shape. And yet, you see a bend, a trick, a curve in something straight. Even a rainbow is just refraction and reflection and gentle scattering, light, slow, and split by raindrops. But it feels like a message, doesn't it? Like the sky is reminding you that splitting does not mean breaking, that even separation can make beauty. You are built to respond to light. Your sleep cycle, circadian rhythm, rises and falls with the sun. Blue light tells your brain to wake. Darkness whispers you to sleep. And in between, your hormones shift. Your mind clears or clouds, depending on what the sky is doing. You are not separate from light. You are shaped by it. Even your bones need it. Ultraviolet rays trigger your skin to make vitamin D, a molecule your cells crave. In the end, you are not just a body in light. You are a body of light. You are made of atoms forged in stars, trained to catch photons, to respond, to feel. And now, as you rest, notice the light in your mind, the way thoughts glow before they fade, each one a reflection of something seen or felt or hoped. And in the darkness, where no photons fall, your neurons still flicker, tiny electric dances, built from chemistry and memory. You carry sunlight into sleep. You dream in echoes of color and warmth. Light is not gone. It's within you. And in the silence, in the space between dreams, something begins to form. Not a color, not a flame, but awareness itself. What is the chemistry of thought, of a self that sees the light and wonders? Who is watching? Fire does not ask. It arrives with warmth, with light, with hunger. It is not a thing. It is a moment, a dance between matter and energy, an agreement between what was and what could be. Fire does not exist in stillness. It is motion made visible, a chain of reactions, climbing upward, reaching, always reaching. And tonight we enter the glow, where carbon speaks in sparks, where oxygen gives without taking back, where heat itself becomes a language. This is chemistry in flame. This is balance, hungry and bright. To understand fire, begin with a bond, not between people, but between atoms, carbon and hydrogen, locked together in a molecule like wax, wood, or oil. They are content in that state, stable, low energy, quiet. But introduce heat, and you whisper a challenge. You say, what if more was possible? The bonds shiver, they stretch, and then they snap. Carbon lets go of hydrogen. Oxygen rushes in. New bonds form, more stable now. Carbon dioxide, water vapor, and in the process, energy is released. The difference between what was held and what is now freed. This is combustion. This is fire. Not the thing itself, but the birth of change. But fire has rules. It needs three: fuel, heat, and oxygen. The fire triangle. Take away any side, and the dance ends. No fuel, nothing to burn. No heat, no way to start. No oxygen, the flame suffocates. It's delicate in that way. Raging, yes, but fragile. A single gust can kill it. A glass jar can cage it. And yet, within those limits, fire is generous. It cooks your food, warms your night, powers your engines. Every flame is chemistry at work, matter reorganizing itself, releasing energy in return. Wood burns, not all at once, but in layers. First, heat drives out the moisture. The water hisses, evaporates, leaving behind dry matter, mostly cellulose and lignin. Then, the dry wood begins to break. Long chains of carbon shatter into simpler molecules, gases like methane, carbon monoxide, and others. This is pyrolysis, the prelude to flame. The gases rise. They meet oxygen. And only then do they ignite, dancing just above the log, where air and fuel can finally hold hands. The flame you see is not the wood. It's the invisible breath of wood becoming gas. Then light. That light, why is it orange? Because it's hot. But not just that. Heat excites atoms, pushes their electrons into higher states, but they cannot stay there. They fall, and in falling, release photons. The color of flame depends on the atoms within. Sodium glows yellow. Copper gives green. Potassium shows violet. In fireworks, chemists choreograph this: precise metals, careful temperatures, turning combustion into celebration. But the flame always tells a story of atoms gaining, atoms falling, and light as their whisper. You, too, are touched by fire, not just in memory of candles, campfires, birthdays, but in biology. Your cells burn sugar in slow, steady flames. Glucose meets oxygen in the mitochondria, a tiny furnace inside nearly every cell. It's called cellular respiration. CHO plus 6O6 CO plus 6 HO plus energy. It's the same basic reaction as fire, only controlled by enzymes and barriers. You are a warm being because you burn, but gently, not in bursts, but in balance, not in smoke, but in breath. Fire is a story of balance undone, stored energy meeting open air, but it is also a story of return. The end of flame is not useless. It holds minerals, salts, what the fire could not carry away. In forests, a burn can awaken seeds long dormant. Some plants need fire to crack their shells. In the wild, fire is not destruction. It is reset. It is space for the next thing to grow. This, too, is balance, a hungry kind, but not cruel. Think of ancient humans gathered around flames. The first chemistry lab was a campfire. We learned to cook, to harden clay, to shape metal, all from watching the behavior of fire, its appetite, its patience, its refusal to follow orders. We gave it symbols. Prometheus stole it. Gods demanded it. Revolutions were lit by it. And yet, its essence never changed. Still carbon, still oxygen, still heat, still the breaking of bonds, and the glow of something becoming something else. In candles, we made fire quiet. A wick draws wax upward, liquid fuel, delivered slowly. The flame burns vapor, not solid, controlled, steady, soft. In stoves and engines, we taught fire to work, to move pistons, to drive wheels, to boil water and turn turbines. But in each, we must contain it. Fire, unbound, destroys. It consumes without regard. Because fire has no motive, only a mechanism. And if you understand it, the chemistry of release, you can use it or flee it. That choice is yours. In the stars, fire is born, not of oxygen, but of fusion. Hydrogen atoms pressed together so tightly they merge, becoming helium and light. This is not combustion, it is creation. And yet, our fires are echoes of theirs. Every log you burn is ancient sunlight, plants once fed by a star's flame. Every candle, a miniature sun, reminding you that light can come from letting go. And what of us? We carry the memory of fire in language, in passion, in anger, in love. We say a soul burns, a desire ignites, a hope flickers. Because fire feels like wanting, like a need that climbs. But it is still chemistry, still electrons jumping, still atoms rearranging. Even your thoughts burn sugars to send signals. Even your dreams require heat. You are not so different from the candle by your bed. So, tonight, as you settle, remember the fire within and without, the ones that warmed you, the ones that changed you, the ones that left behind, not ruin, but space. Because sometimes things must be released, burned, transformed, for new bonds to form. That's not destruction, that's chemistry. Fire is not fury, it's rearrangement, a rebalancing of energy, a hunger that feeds only when it's invited, and then quiet again. Only warmth remaining, only ash, only the shape of what was, now ready for what will be. They do not rust, they do not rot, they do not return to dust. Plastics, those smooth, silent things, are the quiet ghosts of chemistry, long-lived, lightweight, lingering. They carry your water, hold your food, shield your wires, cradle your toothbrush, build your world, then stay, long after you're done, long after you've left, long after forgetting. To know plastic is to meet carbon again. Carbon, that master of bonding, that builder of chains. But this time, the chains are enormous, molecules that stretch like tangled necklaces, loops, and lines of repeating patterns. These are polymers. From the Greek, poly, many, meros, parts, many parts, repeated, over and over. Imagine one unit, a monomer, tiny, precise. Add another, then another, until you've built a molecular train so long it coils like a snake. That's plastic. Not one thing, but many, linked together by human hands. Some polymers are born in cells. Silk, wool, cellulose, DNA, nature's original chains. But plastics, the kind that haunt landfills, are synthetic, built not by bees, but by beakers, made from oil or gas or coal, ancient carbon, drawn up and rearranged, turned into pellets or resin or threads. The most famous? Polyethylene, your grocery bag, your shampoo bottle, your squeeze of toothpaste. It's just two carbon atoms with four hydrogen friends, the ethylene monomer. Link them, and the chain grows without end. The magic of plastics is also their curse. They are flexible, moldable, cheap. They resist water. They shrug off time. But they don't forget how they were made. Their bonds are strong, too strong for bacteria, fungi, sunlight, rain. Where paper folds, plastic floats. Where wood rots, plastic waits. A bottle tossed today may still be whole when your great-grandchild walks the shore. Some plastics like PVC, polyvinyl chloride, carry chlorine in their chains. Strong, stiff, used in pipes, frames, siding. Others, like PET, polyethylene terephthalate, hold your soda, your salad, your sportswear. Each polymer has its personality, soft or hard, clear or opaque, stretchy or stiff, all made by tuning the ingredients, changing the side groups, twisting the chains. Plastic is chemistry, playing architect, building a city of objects with no shared fate. When plastics break, they don't dissolve, they fragment. A bag shreds in the ocean. The straw crumbles on the street, but the pieces are still plastic, just smaller. Microplastics, they're called. Tiny, nearly invisible, but everywhere. In rivers, in soils, in fish, in fruit, even in the clouds, even in us. We breathe them, drink them, carry them. Ghosts of bottles, now floating through bloodstreams. And yet, plucking plastic from the story isn't so easy. It's in your phone case, your shoes, the circuit in your heart monitor, the wings of a plane, the fiber in your fleece. To ban it is to unravel the modern world. So we learn to rethink instead. Can it biodegrade? Can it be reused? Can it be remade? Can we choose less forever and more return? This is the chemistry of design, of ethics, of limits. Some scientists build new plastics that vanish on command, made with weak links or sugar backbones or bacteria's appetite. Polylactic acid pla, made from corn or sugarcane, used in compostable forks, films, caps. Other teams train microbes to eat plastic bit by bit like termites in a bean. Slow, but promising, because the ghost must be spoken to, must be answered, not just ignored. In the lab, plastic feels almost divine. You take gas, ephemeral, and trap it in form. From fume to fork, from vapor to violin. It's alchemy reversed. You've made something from nearly nothing, and it works beautifully until it doesn't. Until the cup cracks, the bin overflows, the wind carries your container to sea, and then you've made a thing that does not know how to stop being. Not all ghosts are evil. Some remind, some warn. Plastic speaks of our ingenuity, how cleverly we learn to mold the world. But it also asks, how wisely, how gently, how long must a spoon outlive the hand that used it? We gave plastic endurance. Now we must give it grace. In the end, plastic will return, not soon, but eventually. The sun will crack it. The wind will tear it. Time will grind it to dust. Carbon will wander back to soil or sky. The chain will end, but not in our time, not in this age. So we stand between gift and consequence, between invention and inheritance, and ask, what should last? What should linger? What should learn? To let go? You, too, are made of chains, proteins, sugars, memories, but yours break and rebuild, dissolve and return. You are impermanent by design. Plastic is not. So let it remind you, not everything must last forever to matter, and not everything that lasts forever should. It begins with a breath, warm water, a lather rising. Your hands move slowly, circling, fingertips across skin, palms against palms. And just like that, a ritual as old as memory, you touch the edge of a quiet science. So, a word so small, yet behind it, a tale of fire, fat, and invisible bonds, of skin, that clever, living shield, and the world it defends you from. Tonight, you'll learn what happens when skin meets soap and how that soft exchange holds stories of molecules, membranes, and the strange balance of being clean. Your skin, beloved barrier, is not smooth, not perfect. It is a layered kingdom, cells in slow migration, rising and dying, flaking gently like the tide going out. It keeps your blood in and the world out. It's waterproof, but not emotion proof. It sweats, blushes, goosebumps in cold air. But mostly, it protects, and to protect, it must be touched. It must be cleaned. And that's where soap enters the story. Soap begins with fat. Yes, fat, oil from olives, tallow from sheep, palm, coconut, almond, castor. Centuries ago, humans found that if you mix fat with something strong, like ashes soaked in water, rich in lye, something curious happens. A transformation. The fat breaks apart. Its long, greasy chains, called triglycerides, split and change. A base tears them loose. Glycerol is released, smooth and sweet, and what remains are salts of fatty acids. Soap. Picture a soap molecule, a tiny headed tadpole. One end loves water, the hydrophilic head. The other loves oil, the hydrophobic tail. This duality, this split desire, is its genius. It doesn't choose sides. It unites them. Drop soap into water, and the molecules scatter, tails turning inward, forming little spheres, called micelles. Inside each micelle, grease and grime are trapped, shielded by tails, embraced by heads. Soap doesn't just wash, it hugs the dirt out of you. Your skin is covered in a thin film, sebum, sweat, dead cells. Thus, a friendly mess most days, but add oil from hands, from food, from air, and your skin becomes a landing pad for the world. Water alone can't lift it. Water rolls off oil, like moonlight on a duck's back. But soap? Soap steps in. Its tail burrows into the oily layer. Its head reaches toward water. And then, with a little warmth, a little motion, the micelles form. Dirt is wrapped, lifted, rinsed away, like peeling a tired day from your face. But there's more. Soap is not just a cleaner. It's a communicator. It speaks to the membrane of every cell it meets. That's why it can kill bacteria. Their outer walls, fatty and thin, dissolve under soap's touch. The virus on your doorknob, soap ruptures its shell. It doesn't poison, it disrupts. It dissolves the envelope that holds its breath. That's why 20 seconds matter. Because soap is not instant, it is steady. It needs time to undo what a microbe spent days building. But skin, your precious boundary, has its own reactions. Too much soap and its oils fade. Its moisture dries. Its tight seams crack. That's why soaps differ. Some are harsh, old lye blocks, bite. Some are mild, synthets, synthetic detergents tailored to match your skin's pH. Some carry moisturizers. Some wear perfumes. Some float. Some melt into bubbles like soft rain on the floor. Each tells a story of chemistry tailored to care. Then there's scent, the most intimate illusion. Lavender, lemon, pine, musk. Soap carries memory in its fragrance. One whiff, and you're back to your grandmother's sink, to a hotel room abroad, to the first time you wash your newborn's hands. Those molecules, light and volatile, slip into your nose and dance with receptors wired directly to your brain, cleansing, yes, but also awakening. And in that moment, when you rinse, when the water carries away the micelles, the debris, the day, you've not just cleaned your hands. You've whispered to your skin, you are still here, you are still whole, and maybe, as strange as it seems, you've also said thank you to a molecule that straddles two worlds. A diplomat between water and oil, between mess and renewal. Some cultures make soap by hand, still stirring vats of fat and alkali under open sky. Others buy it, wrapped in plastic, colored, stamped, branded. But all soaps do the same work in villages, in space stations, in hotel rooms, and refugee camps. They restore a fragile peace between our bodies and the earth they travel through. You, too, are dual, soft and strong, inside and out. Just like soap, you balance two worlds. You absorb, you resist, you adapt, you reflect, and you need the moments that wash you clean of sweat, of sorrow, of everything you couldn't name at the time. Tonight, when you reach for that bar, that pump, that gentle foam, pause, feel the cool curve of the water. Notice the scent that rises like memory. This is not just hygiene. This is chemistry in devotion, a moment of letting go, touch of renewal. You exhale, and somewhere not far from where you rest, a leaf quivers in the breeze and drinks in what you've just let go. This quiet rhythm, you breathing out, a tree breathing in, is one of the most gentle, most powerful stories nature tells. You do not notice it. It makes no sound, but it holds the sky and the earth together. It builds wood from sunlight. It paints the world green, and it fills your lungs with life. This is the story of photosynthesis, the light spun spell cast by plants in every forest, in every field, at the edge of every sidewalk where a blade of grass dares to stretch upward. And tonight, you'll listen to how the trees breathe and what they do with the sunlight you can't hold. It begins with light, not just any light, but sunlight pouring down in golden photons, traveling millions of miles from the surface of the sun to the surface of a leaf. When that light arrives, it does not burn, it does not rush, it simply touches and enters and begins to wake things up. Inside the leaf, there are tiny factories, so small, so many, called chloroplasts. Each chloroplast contains a green magician, chlorophyll. That is the reason leaves are green, and also the reason you are alive, because chlorophyll can do what nearly nothing else can. It can take light, something weightless, shapeless, pure energy, and turn it into matter. Picture it. A single photon falls into a leaf and strikes a chlorophyll molecule. In that moment, an electron leaps, excited, vibrating, ready to do work. The plant channels that energy like a careful craftsman along a path of molecules and reactions called the light-dependent stage. Water is split. The plant drinks it in from the roots below, sends it upward through stem and vein until it reaches the light. With the light's energy, the water is torn, broken into hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen, excess, unnecessary, is set free. It leaves the leaf as a gift to the sky. It becomes what you breathe. But that is only half the story, because plants are not just giving you air. They are building sugar. They are feeding the world. In the second stage, the dark reactions, though they often occur in light, the plant begins to spin carbon into sweetness. It takes in carbon dioxide from the air, from your breath, from the size of animals, from the slow decay of everything once alive. It pulls that carbon into the Calvin cycle, a soft spiral of enzymes and molecules that gently weaves carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen into glucose, a simple sugar, an energy crystal, a packet of sunlight made solid. That sugar becomes bark. It becomes the flesh of fruit. It feeds roots, unfurls leaves, powers the quiet growth of the forest. And it does more. Because when you bite into an apple, you're not just eating fruit, you're tasting sunlight, filtered through leaf and cell, packaged in sweetness for your body to burn and your thoughts to form. Each breath you take is a reply to a breathless act performed by green life. Photosynthesis takes carbon dioxide out of the air, the same carbon we send up with every car, every fire, every fossil burned. The trees take it in and make leaves. They make forests. They make the air cooler, kinder, possible. They are not machines. They are miracles in slow motion, and still, so much of this is invisible. You pass by trees, by moss, by blades of grass, and roadside weeds, never hearing the symphony they sing in silence. But if you could listen, if your ears were tuned to molecular rhythms, you'd hear a great, slow hum as every leaf awakens at dawn and begins its work. You'd hear electrons jumping, oxygen bubbling, carbon slipping into sugar. You'd hear the green of the world breathing you into being, even in the oceans, perhaps especially there. Photosynthesis reigns. Tiny algae, called phytoplankton, float near the surface of the sea. And these microscopic plants make more oxygen than all the trees on land combined. The air you breathe tonight may have come not from a forest, but from a drifting bloom in the Pacific, or the Arctic ice, or a sunlit patch of plankton in the belly of a wave. And what happens when autumn comes? When leaves lose their green and fall? Is the story over? Not quite. The sugars they made flow down into roots, into storage, into waiting. The tree sleeps, but remembers. And in spring, when the light returns and days stretch out, the story resumes. Photosynthesis begins again, without fanfare, without demand. Only light, only water, only carbon. And from them, life. You are made of this light. Your muscles, your thoughts, your very breath, powered by sugars that once hung in leaves. You are not separate from the trees. You are their echo, their response, their partner in this quiet, reciprocal dance. So next time you walk among trees or sit near a window with a houseplant basking in a square of sun, know this: they are working, spinning air into sweetness, turning light into substance, breathing in what you let go, and breathing out what keeps you here. You are connected in this loop of give and take, of inhale and exhale, of carbon and light, and the long, silent generosity of green things. And just as plants harness light to build life, so too does light reflect off you, coloring the world with the chemistry of what you are and how you appear. Because next, we'll follow the path of light, not into leaves, but into surfaces, to learn how the colors we see are born from light that stays and light that goes. You lie still, the hush of night spreading like velvet across your skin. The light fades, soft shadows gather, and your body, without your asking, begins to drift. This is not laziness. It's not stopping. It's a biological symphony, a gentle choreography, written in ancient rhythms, older than words, deeper than thought. Sleep is not the absence of wakefulness. It is its own kind of brilliance, a transformation that folds you into a softer world. And at the center of this quiet shift are chemicals, small but sacred, that flow through you like tides guided by the moon. It begins with light, your body, this luminous architecture of bone and breath has within it a clock, a circadian rhythm ticking softly across 24 hours, woven into the cells of nearly every organ. But the master clock, the timekeeper of you, lives in your brain in a tiny cluster of nerve cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It sits just above where your optic nerves cross. It listens to the sky. When your eyes see sunlight, this little clock takes note. It keeps time by brightness, by shadows, by the tilt of the earth. It knows when to keep you alert, and it knows when to dim the world inside you. As night arrives, the blue light of day fades from the sky, and your eyes, even closed, whisper the message inward. It's time. Your pineal gland, tucked deep in the center of your brain, awakens in the dark. And in that darkness, it begins to secrete melatonin, the hormone of dusk. Melatonin is not a sedative. It doesn't force you into unconsciousness. It invites you. It turns the lights down in your body's theater. It slows the heart, softens the blood pressure, cools the core temperature. It is the curtain rising on the stage of sleep. And while you lie there, suspended between thoughts, melatonin flows through your bloodstream like a signal carried on a tide. It reaches the brain where the neurons that fire during wakefulness quiet their chatter. It bathes your organs, telling them, rest, restore, renew. But sleep is not just melatonin's gift. Other hormones join this nightly ritual. Cortisol, often misunderstood, is not simply the stress hormone. It is also your dawn light, high in the morning, low at night. As melatonin rises, cortisol recedes. It stops preparing you to respond, to solve, to defend. Instead, it yields to the chemical softness of night. Then comes growth hormone, its name simple, but its purpose vast. Released during the deep stages of sleep, especially during slow wave slumber. This hormone repairs tissues, builds muscle, heals wounds. It doesn't just grow children, it mends the quiet phrase of the day. Your immune system listens too. During sleep, your body produces cytokines, tiny protein messengers that help fight infection, reduce inflammation, and signal repair. Sleep is not passive. It is a workshop of cellular care. And still, there is more. In dreams, another hormone rises, acetylcholine. It stirs as your brain enters REM sleep, the phase where your eyes flicker beneath your lids and your thoughts grow vivid and strange. During REM, acetylcholine sharpens the connections between neurons. It strengthens memory. It helps you learn, rehearse, and imagine. In the silence of the night, your mind rebuilds itself with stories. But even this delicate machinery needs a conductor, a signal to begin. And that signal, often, is the absence of light. More specifically, the presence of night's gentlest glow, moonlight. The moon does not shine with its own fire. It reflects. And yet, that reflected light can guide oceans, rouse wolves, pull coral to spawn in synchronized bloom, and it touches you too. Your skin has receptors for light. Even blindfolded, your body knows whether you are lying in sun or under starlight. Moonlight is gentle enough to not interrupt melatonin's rise, but it's still there, marking time with silver. In ancient nights, before screens, before electric brightness, the moon was the clock that cued ritual and rest. Now, we flood the night with artificial suns, LEDs, blue-tinted phones, ceiling lights at midnight, and the body remembers something different than the sky does. The rhythm breaks, sleep drifts further away, but you, lying here, eyes closed, heart slowing, are choosing to return to that older rhythm, letting darkness hold you, letting melatonin flow. Your body knows what to do. It lowers your core temperature. Your muscles loosen. Your breathing deepens. Your brain begins to flicker with the soft pulses of pre-sleep waves. You float, adrift in a slow descent toward dreaming, and as you sleep, everything continues. Your blood sugar regulates, your hunger hormones adjust, ghrelin and leptin balancing your appetite for the day to come. Your heart takes a gentler rhythm. Your liver begins its quiet maintenance. Your brain washes itself, literally, with cerebrospinal fluid, cleansing waste from between neurons. It is as if your whole body exhales after the effort of being awake. And through it all, the moon drifts above rooftops, over oceans, over forests and cities. It does not demand. It does not shout. It only reflects. And its silence yourselves. Remember how to rest. Sleep, in the end, is not escape. It is return. Return to rhythm, to repair, to the deep trust that the body knows how to keep itself whole when the mind lets go. And in the quiet of that letting go, another question stirs. Where do dreams go when they end? And why do they feel so real? Because next, we'll wander into the mind's theater to explore how the brain tells itself stories while you sleep. Beneath your skin, beneath the hush of heartbeat and breath, a quiet architecture holds you. Your bones. You don't often think of them, yet they move with you. Lift your laughter, brace your stillness, cradle your dreams. They are more than framework. They are ancient messengers of time, of stars, of fire that lived long before you. Because your bones, yes, yours, are built from stardust, not metaphor, but memory in matter. Calcium born in the furnace of stars, phosphorus flung from supernova winds, iron whispered down from dying suns that exploded long before Earth was born. You are, in the deepest chemical sense, a relic of celestial fire. A star's ashes hold your spine upright. Your ribs are rings, once forged in galactic silence, and the marrow within, the soft, humming center, is a workshop of life, still crafting blood, still echoing that original burst of cosmic heat. Your skeleton is not a ruin. It is a song still being sung, and it listens to gravity, to pressure, to the quiet pull of minerals you carry in your breath, your food, your water. Bones are not dead things. They renew constantly. The body dismantles and rebuilds them bit by bit, cell by cell, like a patient sculptor working always in moonlight. And in that rebuilding, they remember your steps, your stumbles, your growing pains, the pressure of the earth beneath your feet, the shape of your mother's arms as she first held you. Minerals come and go, but the form remains faithful. The lattice, the pattern, is older than language. There's calcium, yes, but also zinc, magnesium, and traces of metals that once only danced in the hearts of stars. It is the alchemy of time that gives your bones their quiet strength. Even as you lie still now, your bones are listening, not in ears, but in silence, sensing the weight of you, holding your breath as gently as roots hold rain. Your spine, that elegant stack of motion and memory, is older than most rock formations, not in age, but in legacy. Because long before you were you, there were creatures crawling from seas, their skeletons forming inside, like whispers of the land to come. Fish with jaws, reptiles with hips, mammals with pelvises that could carry new life. And now you, curled tonight in soft fabric, head heavy with thought, are the heir to all those skeletal stories. The curve of your skull protects a galaxy of thought. The joints in your fingers still echo the grasp of primates. Even the tiny bones in your ears, three delicate bridges, once helped our ancestors balance in water before they learned to walk the forest. Evolution does not forget. It carries its knowledge in calcium, in shape, in form, not in words. So when you walk, when you stretch, when you sleep, your body is reading from a very old script. But bones are not just record keepers. They are factories too. Deep in the marrow, cells bloom like quiet stars. Red blood cells, the ones that carry oxygen. They are born there, die there, renew themselves again and again. And white blood cells, your internal guardians, also rise from within your skeletal night. Your bones are not still. They are humming, responding to movement, storing minerals for the future, sending signals when there is pain or healing or hunger. They are made not only of matter, but of a kind of wisdom, the slow, steady knowing of structure, of balance, of quiet resilience. Even in old age, bones speak. They remember falls, bear the weight of laughter, carry echoes of children once lifted. They grow light, perhaps, but never empty. Even the most fragile rib carries a history of storms survived. And one day, when all the breath has left, bones endure. Long after muscle and skin have turned to earth, the calcium remains, not eternal, but loyal. Fossils are bones that kept whispering long after the mouths around them stopped. They tell us what walked, what sang, what once bore life. And if yours were found 1,000 years from now, someone might read them like a story. They might see you are strong here and fragile in this joint, that you grew, that you healed, that you held others. Your bones tell the truth about a life quietly lived inside the rhythm of a breathing world. And deeper still, they remind us that we are not separate from the sky, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones. They were made in stars that died to give you form. You carry death in your marrow, yeah, but also birth and beginning and light. You carry memory, not in thoughts, but in atoms. Every night, as you rest, your bones are busy, rebalancing, repairing, remembering. A cathedral of stardust, holding steady as you drift. So tonight, as your breath deepens, know this: you are built not just from Earth, but from stars that watched the first galaxies form. You do not simply lie in the universe lies in you. And if your bones are made of stars, what else within you might still be unfolding? What other secrets might your chemistry hold? What songs are still echoing quietly in your cells? What new beginnings, even now, are stirring in the dust of all that came before? And now, our journey together finds its quiet close. We've wandered through atoms, danced with photons, held hands with molecules, and the memories hidden in your bones. But this isn't an ending, just a soft pause, a place to rest and wonder, because science never truly ends. It lingers in breath, in thought, in dream. Thank you for walking these slow, curious paths with me through chemistry, starlight, and the quiet inside you. If these stories have soothed your mind or sparked even the smallest flicker of awe, then the Dreamy Physicist has done its work. I thank you, truly, for listening. And wherever you are tonight, under blankets or stars, may you rest, knowing the universe has always been inside you. Good night from the Dreamy Physicist.